Alright, welcome back to Game 10 of Lucid's 2022 tournament, where we are playing Phlegra. It is turn 42. This one should be a relatively quiet one for us, although Utgard probably will be taking some of their settlement provinces. We received 2 Astral Pearls from Atlantis. This is an agreement. They are moving through one of our provinces to reinforce, and that is its gem income. We finished research in Thaumaturgy 5, which will get us Soul Slay, as well as a few other useful things. Atlantis claims that throne that they just jumped on top of. Another potential reason that we might prefer war with Atlantis, there's a throne right on the border that they control, and then potentially if we drive somewhat deeply into their territory past Raga, there's another throne on the border between them and Utgard. Unfortunately, Utgard has jumped the gun in terms of reclaiming the provinces, so one of these I think is going to be a legitimate battle, but we'll get to that. And that is just because poor communication between the sub and I in terms of exactly which provinces Utgard was going to be taking. They didn't really have anything in the area, so I figured, well, we might as well site search since we're here. Okay, Marignon just pinging. It looks like this is Utgard's Pretender, so they have mono-dropped on top of that fort that we saw was under siege. It looks like this guy's actually not set to retreat, so... Yeah, I think this missionary is doomed, but that is interesting that that's where Utgard's Pretender is. Actually, we should double check. I do think that monolith is holding up one of their globals, so they are using it somewhat aggressively. Yeah, so it's holding up their Mother Oak, I believe. Although that said, at Earth 8, it's a monolith. The 37 protection, can do body ethereal, 200 hit points. The magic resistance to 22 is good, but not insurmountable, right? There's only so much you can do because there's not a lot of gear slots on the monolith. So still dangerous, but definitely a tough monolith to be taking down. And I don't think that missionary was up to the task. No, they were not. This is our only battle that we chose to have against the barbarians, and so we should be wasting some fire gems here shortly. So we'll see. There is a decent number of barbarians here. We do at least have a few Mouflon cataphracts out front to slow them down, but we prefer to hang on to the Mouflon as well. Yeah, I'm not really sure that the flaming arrows was needed here, but it's always how it goes. If we hadn't cast flaming arrows, the barbarians would not have routed and gotten all up in our business, no doubt. So we take that back from the barbarians without loss, other than our precious fire gems, which is always sad. And then this is Utgard retaking some provinces. Yeah, I think this is just a ping, or not a ping. Yeah, this is our guy that hung out and site searched. Apparently he was insane for one of the sub turns as well. So this guy, I think this is only 5%. I think this one's the hero. Yeah, so I think even the hero, like 5% across the board. So in theory, they have a 95% chance of, not being insane. And this guy's managed to be insane quite a lot. This is not going to work out for this mage. Utgard will no doubt be annoyed by this, but, it is what it is. We'll pull out this turn, assuming that this guy's not insane this turn. Luckily, that guy is kitted. Luckily for us, unfortunately for Utgard. They definitely should have reached out. Wow. I think they should have reached out and just, made sure that they certainly could have sent, Utgard could have sent the settlement agreements to me, and I would have been happy to abide by them. They did not bother to do that, instead relying on the sub to do it. And by the time that we had chatted, this turn had already rolled, so that is unfortunate. Because I do like to abide by my agreements, and by extension, the sub, had full choice, full autonomy in terms of deciding what to do, and so their decisions are our decisions. And this is our province where Atlantis is moving through. It's interesting that they want to reinforce the throne army, perhaps expecting an attack there, or perhaps planning on using it as a springboard to attack Mictlan or possibly Ulm. So they knew how much province defense was in there. Yeah, one crossbowman does die, but Jaguar tribe, not fantastic. We are not defending this other province. I mean, we weren't really defending the other province either. We just happen to have a site searcher there. We do have a good amount of province defense here. I don't know if this is going to work. Utgard being relatively economical in terms of their recapturing. And this level of province defense was no doubt set up during the war. Yeah, I do think, they have their mages set to retreat. So, yeah, that's an interesting strategy. I haven't really seen that before. But they have used it to decent effect. There is some danger, that the mage dies in the retreat. So, I don't know. I'm not completely sold on that, but it does prevent a situation like that where you're expecting very low levels of province defense and you end up. Ooh, I guess she didn't manage to retreat. So yeah, I don't know. Clearly, Utgard did not coordinate with the sub to ask what levels of province defense were there. And this is the province that has like 4 gem sites, so I mean that's the reason that we have a good amount of PD in there. We were potentially planning on taking a battle there at one point. So that's definitely not on me, but happy to see an Utgard mage die. And then we have some unexpected events. I believe this is the Rebirth mod, and I was a little confused there. We actually get a good event, so that's nice. Our goddess is dead currently, but we are working on recalling her. She should be here in the not too distant future. Luckily, we still have a decent number of cap mages left. They're priest level 2, if I recall. So we're probably looking at, 5 or 6 turns, give or take. This is costing us a decent amount of research, and, maybe there's an argument to be made for recruiting some Phlegra priests and doing it at a slower rate, but I just kind of want the Pretender back. It's definitely a different threat vector, so I think worth it and useful to have around. The stars are right for conjurations. Yeah, we'll maybe try to take advantage of this. I don't have any particular conjuration that we're planning on doing. And the Throne of Fortune is spreading luck, which is nice because we're full misfortune. So we're happy about that. We finished construction of our fortification, and we have a little bit of patrolling, and I will catch you guys after the cut. All right, this is the situation and what was done about it. Another relatively quiet turn. We're pulling out our now non-insane tyrant hero, along with some of the shattered remains of our previous army. Although, mage can't lead all of them, so we're leaving a few guys behind. Again, no troop recruitment, though this is probably due to some infrastructure going up. So we started a palisade here, which in retrospect, not so sure about this fortification. We will be able to produce more mages out of it, assuming that we have the gold for it. But in terms of producing troops, this fort will be awful. I think part of the problem is early on, Phlegra kind of ends up having a good amount of gold because their troop upkeep is so cheap, and they do want a lot of forts for a lot of mages. But then once you start producing the tyrants in numbers, that upkeep situation changes a lot. So I think I had just not caught up to the fact that we were going to start having a lot less gold in coming turns as our upkeep starts to skyrocket. We are of course producing another tyrant. Yeah, in fact, we're even cutting a mage here in one of our existing fortifications. So again, I think this is too many forts probably at this point. Though I do think Phlegra is a nation that wants a lot of forts. We just need to have conquered more territory in order to support this. Otherwise, most of these a few movements are site searching. We're also retaking our territory as per the agreement with Atlantis. And of course, calling our god in. We have quite a few of our cap-only mages since they're level 2 priests, so they call in a little faster, but we are losing a good amount of research to this, so it's kind of painful. Possibly a reason to recruit more Phlegran priests, though obviously it depends a lot on your build and whether or not you care about having your god around. A little bit of forging going on in the background. We are still forging lanterns somewhere. But relatively slowly. We don't have a ton of gem income really in general. It's just a feature of the late age. We are starting to summon in some Yetis, taking advantage actually of the fact that it's right for conjuration, and also just the fact that we have a lot of water gems stacked up and we don't really have a ton of things to spend them on. I think again probably in retrospect it would be better to trade these water gems to someone, though frankly I'm not 100% sure who we would be trading them to. So Yetis, I think, are not the worst use of water gems. They're good siege strength. They're not great troops. But it will be nice, if we end up going up against Atlantis, since they have a lot of cold resistance. And at this point, still hadn't decided, right, whether we're going to go for Mictlan or Atlantis. I think those, are our 2 realistic options, considering the fact that we can't fight Utgard anymore, at least for the short term, in my mind. I don't think too much has changed in the wider world either. We're trying to get eyes on a siege here. Vedheim and Ulm are fighting a little bit back and forth. But again, I don't think they have a huge border, so a bit of an awkward war for them. Vedheim, of course, is fighting just about everybody, it seems like. So here we have Marignon sieging a citadel here from what was originally, I believe, Gath's territory. And again, I think this was a little greedy on Vedheim's part, although, I don't know what was happening diplomatically. Perhaps Marignon had already declared war, so Vedheim figured, might as well vulture up this, remaining Gath territory. We don't really know anything about the Vettiheim-Utgard conflict, though we are trying to move some scouts out in that direction since we need scouting on Utgard a little less at the moment. And similarly, it doesn't really look like the border has moved a lot between Mictlan and Vettiheim. They've been fighting back and forth, though we do see there's a good amount of demons here from Mictlan. So Mictlan is obviously doing some blood hunting. We're well into the point where there should be a lot of blood hunting, so this is not that surprising. But of course, no matter what turn it is, you never like to see, the words 90 and Ozzel in the same sentence, especially since I believe they're sacred. I'll double check that. But if they are, then they have the quickness bless, which they're going to like. They have a lot of attacks. At least it's mainly Jaguar warriors. And of course, they are going after Vettiheim, not us. So yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 42.